A single shot cracked across the Utah Valley University campus. Charlie Kirk was mid-sentence, taking a question from the crowd, when the bullet struck his neck. Students screamed and dropped to the pavement. Security scrambled toward the stage as chaos spread through the outdoor event. It was September 10, 2025, and within seconds, a conservative movement lost its most visible young voice. Kirk, the 31-year-old co-founder of Turning Point USA, had built his career speaking directly to campus crowds, just like this one. That afternoon, he never got the chance to answer the question that was asked. Investigators moved fast. Surveillance cameras had captured a gray Dodge Challenger parked near the venue, and a figure dressed in dark clothing climbing a stairwell in an adjacent parking garage before disappearing into a wooded area. Detectives traced the vehicle and the suspect's movements, building a profile within hours of the shooting. Roughly 34 hours later, 23-year-old Tyler Robinson turned himself in to police. According to investigators, his own parents recognized him from the released surveillance images and convinced him to surrender. He lived 4 hours away in Washington, Utah, but his life would now be tied permanently to a college campus in Orem. Robinson was arrested and jailed. He has remained in custody ever since without entering a formal plea. Nearly 10 months later, in July 2026, a 5-day preliminary hearing opened in Provo before 4th District Court Judge Tony Graff. Its purpose was narrow but critical: to decide whether prosecutors had gathered enough evidence to send Robinson to trial on charges that include aggravated murder, a crime that could carry the death penalty under Utah law. For the first time since the shooting, Kirk's widow, Erica, and his parents, Robert and Catherine, sat in the same courtroom as the man accused of killing him. Prosecutors built their case around physical evidence recovered directly from the crime scene. A Mauser bolt-action rifle was found, and according to court filings, DNA consistent with Robinson's was detected on the trigger, on the fired cartridge casing, on 2 unused rounds, and on a towel that had been used to wrap the weapon. Investigators also pointed to a handwritten note, allegedly left under a keyboard for Robinson's roommate, in which he purportedly wrote that he'd had the opportunity to target Kirk and had taken it. A text message sent to the same roommate reportedly echoed that sentiment, describing a hatred that could not be negotiated away. That roommate, identified in court records as Robinson's partner, was granted limited immunity in exchange for a recorded interview with investigators. He did not testify in person during the hearing, but prosecutors used his recorded statement to argue that Robinson had acted out of deep-seated anger over Kirk's political views and public influence. But the case against Robinson was not airtight. A federal ballistics report could not conclusively match the bullet fragments recovered from Kirk's body to the rifle that investigators had seized as evidence. The analysis could not rule the weapon out either, but that lingering uncertainty gave Robinson's defense team a genuine opening to challenge the state's narrative. His attorneys argued the physical evidence was far less certain than prosecutors were claiming, and pushed back hard on how the DNA findings should actually be interpreted, noting that genetic material from several other individuals was also present on some of the tested items. Beyond the forensic disputes, Robinson's defense team fought separate battles over how the hearing itself would be conducted. They attempted to keep news cameras and live broadcasts out of the courtroom entirely, arguing that public exposure could compromise Robinson's chance at a fair future trial. Judge Graff rejected that request, ruling that the hearing would proceed with media access largely intact, though he later denied a further request to allow reporters real-time use of laptops and phones inside the courtroom. At the center of everything sat the question of punishment. Utah County prosecutors said from the very beginning that they intended to pursue the death penalty, citing the danger posed to thousands of bystanders at a crowded public event as an aggravating factor recognized under state law. Robinson's defense pushed just as hard in the opposite direction, filing repeated motions aimed at taking capital punishment off the table completely. As the hearing unfolded across 5 tense days, Kirk's family sat through evidence they had waited nearly a year to see presented in open court, including graphic exhibits that required the judge to pause proceedings so they could step outside beforehand. Erica Kirk had said publicly months earlier that she forgave the man accused of killing her husband, even as she demanded that justice still be carried out in full. That tension between personal grief and public due process has defined this case from the moment Robinson first surrendered to authorities. Nothing has been decided yet. Robinson has not been convicted of any crime, and the preliminary hearing exists specifically to test whether the state's evidence can withstand scrutiny before a jury ever hears it. What happened at Utah Valley University lasted only a few seconds, but its aftermath has stretched across courtrooms, campuses, and a divided national conversation for nearly a year, with no final verdict yet in sight.